Hey guys, welcome back to Home Build, and today I am continuing with the 911 engine build. Alright, so today, as I mentioned in another video, basically I'm going to be doing the early week video on the 911 and moving through until I get that done. It's going to get done. And the end of the week, I'll be doing the videos on the Ferrari. So I'm sort of doing basically a day a week on each car, and we're just going to keep moving forward. So covering just a couple of bits that were brought up in the after the last episode. A lot of people were suggesting using the Stomsky Racing pin clip inserter. That would be great, but I don't have time to order that and wait for it to come. So it looks like a great bit of gear, and it looks like it makes things a lot easier. But I'm going to persevere. I've had a couple of suggestions of couple of different ways to try things, and I'm getting better at it. So let's start. Trying to put the next one in and just see how I go, and I'll sort of show you some of the ideas that I've thought of and come up with, and some of your suggestions. So let's give it a go. Okay, I tried a couple of different methods then to try and get the pin in. The tool that the manufacturers use, it fits just inside this recess, and basically you put one end of the pin in and put the tool on an angle, and then just force down hard all the way around, and it just sort of pushes the pin in all the way around. I tried to do that with a socket. It didn't work. I even put a bolt in the center of it to stop the pin from slipping around. It just it doesn't quite have the what it takes to get it in. I was trying the other day the sort of the screwdriver method. You stick it against the lip of the piston and try and lever the pin in. The issue I found with that is that it actually because of the angle, it's pulling the pin away from what you want to do. What I found was better was using a 10mm, my little 10mm open-ended spanner, and I can sort of hook it underneath, and as I push down, I can tilt it towards, and it's pushing the edge of the pin into the hole. That seems to work quite well for me, at least. I think the best option for me is to just sort of wrestle with it. I've built a little stand down here. I've used a couple of washers that sort of sit underneath to hold the pin up in the right spot, so I've got a nice flat surface to work with, and that's easy to get the first pin in. The other one is still going to be the issue on the engine. And this time, I've taken your advice. I've used some clean cloths to plug up the holes in the engine to stop the pin falling in. It did fall in multiple times last week, and that's where this thing comes in handy, this long magnet, and just go in and get it out. So I wasn't too concerned about that. As long as you can get it out again, it's not a problem. Just don't leave anything in there that you don't want in there, like a bolt or something. All right, well, time to, I've rotated the engine now, so it's time to put the next piston on and just keep going, and hopefully I can get all 6 on now that I have my sort of methods worked out, the way I'm going to do it, and we can move forward. Mother. That was horrible. I spent so much time trying to get the pin in on this side. I finally got the clip in, and then as I was trying to move the cylinder, I the bottom ring just popped out the edge of it. So I had to pull it off and do it again. I've got it down now. I've got my method getting, it's a bit better now. And I came up with a cool mod for my glove because it was killing my thumb pushing into this tiny little clip all the time. I actually put a washer down the end of my glove and wadded in a bit of this cloth paper just to give it a bit of cushioning, and it makes it so much nicer on my thumb every time instead of just wearing on the same spot, pushing the same thing all the time. Oh, that is one side down. Now it's time to flip it over and do it all over again on the other side. Those circlips are horrible. Getting one of those tools, I think, would be well worthwhile if you're ever planning on doing this. Order one ahead of time and just save yourself so much heartache. It's so annoying. I got them all in, but it wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it. Don't recommend it. Get a tool, it'll make it easier. Anyway, they're all done. Thankfully, all the one of the I think it was number 5 cylinder was actually when I put it in back in LA, I must have put it in upside down. The inlet valve is larger than the exhaust valve, and the indentation in the piston is set up for that inlet valve, and the lower one for the exhaust. So either way, I got them all set up. They're all in the right spots because I did go through and measure them all in LA and weighed them all and got them all perfect, and they're all set as to keep all the balance as close to absolutely perfect as possible. So that's done. Next thing, I'm just going to go around and turn the engine over and clean out any excess assembly lube and stuff inside all the cylinders. Just make sure they're as clean and neat as possible. Just go over it a couple of times, and then we can move on to the next bit. All right, so the next step in this process is to start fitting the air baffles, and these sort of help to guide the air around the cylinders. And what they recommend to do is to do this air baffle modification, which I've done to these. All of these, this particular piece of metal sits in the center of the cylinders, the middle parts. And they recommend that you actually cut about 1 inch off of the edge. So this was actually square out here before, and I've cut this back already, and that is to help airflow in the middle of the cylinders. Originally these were designed to run really hot to try and keep emissions down, but it ended up being disastrous. So this is a highly recommended, very simple mod, bit of tin snips, and you're done. So I'm going to go through and install these now so that we can move on to the next stage. And that is where I'm going to leave this for this episode. I'm slowly nibbling away at this job. The next step, the reason I'm leaving it here and I don't want to start putting it together is the next step is to start the dry assembly. You can go through and do this all properly and button it all up, but if you, particularly because I've got new pistons and new cam profiles, it's recommended to not use sealant and not go to town and and set it all up properly, and then you find that you have interference with the valves and the pistons and that sort of stuff. So the recommended practice is I've got to go through, assemble the heads, put the cams on, do all the cam timing, and then make sure I have clearance, and then we can pull it apart and seal it up for good. I've got a digital degree wheel coming to set this all up properly. Roger from Operational Prints is sending it out to me, and that should be a really useful piece of gear to get the timing just right, because it's quite a challenge on these engines to get the cam timing done properly and locked in. So that is it for this episode. Next episode will be back on the Alpha, and hopefully I have something fun to do next week on this. I've still got a lot of the engine bits I've got to paint, and I've got bits to still do on the car itself. So the 911 is still moving forward, and so is the Alpha. So come and follow us on Patreon. The link's in the description, and you get to watch these videos a day early. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram and all the rest of that stuff, and it's all good. All right, see you next time. Thanks, guys.